This week's Torah portion, Korach. We are in the lovely town of Muknin, Tunisia, with Rabbi Shmuel Taib, living in the last century, makes Aliyah in 1948, wrote several books. We're going to focus on Afapei Shachar, a commentary on the Torah. This week's Torah portion, who doesn't know, Korach, the first coup in Judaism or amongst the Jewish people, tries to take over the leadership from Moses. As a result, the earth opens up its mouth, swallows Korach and his bunch. Rabbi Shmuel Taib teaches us, we know the sages teach us that there were 10 things that were created just before the first Shabbos of existence. One of them was the earth that was going to open its mouth to swallow Korach and his bunch. And another one was the mouth of Bilam's ass that was going to be able to speak. So both of these functions, the earth swallowing, opening its mouth, and Bilam's ass opening its mouth, were created before the first Shabbos. If that's the case, I understand in this week's Torah portion that the earth supposedly opens its mouth on its own, doing what it was supposed to do, the reason it was created, and swallow Korach and its bunch. But why didn't Bilam's ass doesn't open its mouth on its own? We are told that God has to open its mouth. Why the difference if they were both created back then for that purpose? He says it's like the fact that every door has a lock and every lock needs a key. So too the functions that were created way back then, the ability of the earth to swallow or open its mouth and the ability of Bilam's ass to open its mouth, needed a key to unlock that ability, that function that was created way back then. What is the key that unlocked the earth's mouth? The words of Moses. Moses says, just before the earth swallows, opens its mouth, Moses says, if I am right, the earth shall open its mouth and swallow. Moses' words act as the key that unlocks the capability created way back then. With the case of Bilam's ass, there is no such. The scenario is different, so it requires God's intervention. God is the key that unlocks the ability created way back then. Okay. Now Rabbi Shmuel Taib does something beautiful. He says, and I heard once from a wise Ashkenazi rabbi the following. He says he brought a parable to explain this. He says, gold one day comes to metal. Gold says to metal, why is it that when the locksmith bangs at you, you shriek and shout? It's horrific sounds you make that you can hear it from afar. Whereas when the locksmith bangs at me on my back, I let out but a moan. Why the difference? Metal says to gold, it's very simple. When the locksmith hits you on your back, he's using metal to hit gold. Right? He's using metal to hit gold. Yes, metal, gold. However, so it's two different kinds, two different species. It doesn't hurt so much. But when he uses metal to hit metal, because his tool is for metal, it is like one brother against another brother. The pain is horrific. Is there anything worse than family going against its own kind? And as a result, I scream and moan and shout, it is so terrible. This Ashkenazi rabbi says it's the same thing. Bilam's ass didn't open its mouth because it looked and said, Bilam's a goy, he's metal. So what if he curses gold, the Jewish people? They're two different kinds, two different species, big deal. So God had to intervene because it is a bit of a big deal. But here the earth saw metal against metal, Korach against Moses, two brethren, one against the other. What could be worse? The breaking of unity of the Jewish people is the worst thing that can happen. The earth could not see this, so it simply swallowed up to stop this from happening. Metal cannot go against metal. It was too painful. And if you ask me, I think what Rabbi Shmuel Taib is doing is beautiful. He's doing the same thing. In the Torah portion that's meant to teach us about the importance of unity and us staying together, when we are together as Jewish people, nothing can go against us. He, a Sephardi Rav from Muknin, Tunisia, is incorporating together, weaving in, uniting his words with the words of his brethren and Ashkenazi Rav. I don't think this is by chance. He doesn't usually do this. I think it is on purpose to prove a point. The importance of unity. Thoughts from the Torah portion of Korach with Rabbi Shmuel Taib. Shabbat Shalom.